Are you sitting comfortably? We have managerial news from the Championship and shock, horror after seemingly an eternal wait. Sunderland have actually hired a new manager. That there is Regis Le Bris, a 48-year-old Frenchman coming in from the French leagues. And the shock and awe is it's been a bit of a train wreck, hasn't it? The Sunderland managerial issues. Before we talk about Regis Le Bris, let's just catch up on a really weird story because Sunderland obviously have been in the Championship for 2 seasons. They were promoted with Alex Neil, who jumped ship to Stoke early last season. Tony Mowbray was brought in, and Sunderland, miraculously, well, before Ipswich went one better this season, Sunderland jumped from the playoffs in League One straight to the playoffs in the Championship. Had a really, really good first season. Lost in the semi-finals to Luton. And weirdly, immediately, like the very next day they lost to Luton, Tony Mowbray's job was apparently under threat. That didn't really transpire in the close season. But then when we got into last season, Mowbray was indeed let go as Sunderland manager. In comes Mick Beale, who had infamously promised the earth to QPR, then gone off to Rangers in Scotland, and it hadn't really worked out there. But Sunderland and their interesting kind of hierarchy there, we'll get onto them in a bit, decided that Mick Beale was going to come in. Absolute disaster with Beale. Fans didn't really take to him, and it was very, very short-lived. I remember doing Sunderland visit to Ipswich on one of the watch-alongs, and they had no strikers up top, and the fans were chanting, and yeah, it's just one of those ones where you look at the fit and you're like, this isn't working. Now, whatever, fine, manager comes, manager goes. It happens. But then the really, really strange thing was, I'll check my dates. It feels like February, maybe. It was a long, long time ago. We're towards the end of June now, and you think, okay, well, it hasn't worked out with Beale, and maybe Sunderland are just going to finish in the middle of the table now. Can they find themselves a manager to take the club next season? And, you know, he might have to do the end of this season and whatnot to get things moving. But we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we were still waiting into the end of the season and the close season, and Sunderland kind of deteriorated and basically very strangely just kind of flew up the white flag, didn't they? And stopped their season and kind of stopped trying, really. It was very, very, very odd. I've got some sympathy for the Sunderland fans. We've looked, what's happening? We're waiting and we're waiting and waiting. We thought it was going to be Will Still. Lots of conversations there. Various links, I don't know. Liam Rossinia, Marty Cifuentes, the QPR link there. But in the end, we've ended up, it came out last night, Saturday the 22nd of June, with Regis Le Bris as the new Sunderland manager. It's taken ages. Will he be worth the wait? Well, we'll talk about that. Who the hell is he? I don't know anything about this guy, I've got to say. But then again, I will say, I didn't know anything about Marty Cifuentes or Danny Rull, who came into QPR and Sheffield Wednesday and did fine jobs. And are we into European coach again? We talked about the Sunderland higher ups, and let's be fair, maybe I was a bit dismissive. This season it hasn't gone well, but the season before, everyone's saying, oh, Moneyball Sunderland signing all of these exotic young European players, bringing them in, everything looking good. Very young owner in the Louis Dreyfus fella who came in, and it was all felt very innovative and very fun, whereas this season it's felt just a vacuum of power, frankly. There's a bit about Reggie. Spent most of his playing career with Stade Renard and, what does that say, Rosemont Park, head of academy coaching with Stade Laval and KSK Rons. These are all new names on me. What we're saying is it's a long career kind of in the backwaters, but in the background, let's just say, in French football. An immensely successful tenure with Les Renards, including under-18 national title, victory in the Coupe Gambardella, France's equivalent of the FA Youth Cup. I'm not mocking. I'm genuinely not mocking. I don't I don't know any of these names or any of these clubs. I'm kind of illustrating the point that this guy has been plucked out of, the kind of coaching system in French football. Regis moved to Lorient in 2012, club's youth development, coached Lorient B from 2015 to 2022. Okay, so we're some maybe more proper first team stuff. And then senior team from June 22 guided them to the highest top tier finish in almost a decade. Club registered its second highest points total in their Ligue 1 history. So, look, just because I don't know anything about the guy or particularly anything about French football doesn't mean that this might not be a good hire. And again, I didn't know anything about Martí Cifuentes, which seems to be about, Danny Roll, that seems that we kind of had that before with the Daniel Farke thing come into Norwich and, everyone was getting German B team managers. But maybe Martí Cifuentes is a better link in how he went into QPR. And everybody seems to want this kind of hire, someone with loads of coaching experience, like literally a decade. Nobody is hiring anybody who was a player a couple of years ago who wants to go into management now. And it seems like everyone's kind of dipping into Europe and just basically saying, come in, coach the team. We know what the recruitment side of it is going to be at Sunderland in terms of Christian Speakman there. Is he, I think he's sporting director of football, whatever the job title there is. He's overseeing all of that. Come in and coach the team. I do feel they have dropped the ball slightly in terms of, look, you get up from League One, accelerated process, you're in the playoffs, you then want to build, don't you, and push. And feels like last season was a bit kind of wasted. And we always have to bring into the conversation when it comes to Sunderland the expectations, the giant fan base, all the years in the Premier League, since late last century and the turn of the century. But obviously since Ellis Short kind of pulled the plug, I think we're talking back 2016-17, and they actually managed to get relegated with the year one parachute payment. Obviously, that kind of went to lessen Short's losses. There's been a fight back since then, and you would traditionally picture Sunderland as someone who would be at least challenging at the top of the second tier to try and be in the top flight. We talked about the kind of squad building, and this is specifically what's got to be done. I've gone on Who Scored over there, and I've filtered out anyone over the age of 25. And look at the appearances there. Trey Hume, 46. Patterson, he may well be going, mightn't he? 45. Joe Bellingham, 45. Dan Ballard, 43. Dan Neil, 42. Jack Clark, 40. We'll see where he is at the end of the summer. Always a high ticket price there. And we'll stop at Pierre Ekwa with 40 appearances. But those lads are 22, 24, 18, 24, 22, 23, 22. And then you keep going down with Abdullah Bar, Chiche, Hemir there, Chris Rigg as well, 17 for God's sake. But the point I'm making is the vast majority of minutes played by Sunderland were played by young players last season. And you get both arguments here, don't you, of you've got to have the balance between youth and experience. Fine, I get that. But you also get the argument it's great to develop players and build through in the way they're trying. And Regis Le Bris, I guess, with all his kind of youth development work in France, may well be good at that. That's going to be the hope for the Sunderland fans. In terms of where they lie in the hierarchy, okay, with club size and fan base and stadium and Premier League history, right at the top. But where have the bookies got them? Obviously, look, you've got Leeds right at the top there of the odds after a 90-point season, year two parachute club. And then you get the three relegated teams all in there as well, Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United. Middlesbrough, highly fancied. West Brom were in the playoffs this past season. Coventry were in the previous season. Norwich, parachute payments have run out. We'll see if they'll reset. And then you get Sunderland, interestingly grouped in there with Pompey and Darby, who've just been promoted from League One. So I think some hedging of bets. But I think what we're saying with Sunderland is they're kind of viewed as a team that with a fair win should be able to push for the playoffs. There you go. Sunderland finally bringing in a new manager, Regis Le Bris. Look, maybe I talked too much about the amount of time it's taken. It's done now. Do you think this is a good hire? How do you think he'll get on? Where do you expect Sunderland to finish next season with Regis Le Bris in there? Get involved down there in the comments. We'll link a proper video, speaking of the odds, purely about what the bookies expect. And you can view that after you finish watching this one.